Have you heard about the latest and greatest technology being built around the DFW area? Generation Race Cars and JL Racing, located in Springtown, Texas, are now offering top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art Southern Sport mods and limited modifieds. Generation Race Cars and JL Racing can provide new cars, turnkey, complete bodies, shock revalving, and chassis updates, along with providing trackside setup guidance and a whole lot more. If you're looking at competing at a whole new level, call 817-528-2947 and ask for Justin today. You can contact them through the JL Racing Facebook page to learn more about Generation Race Cars. You put a ton of effort into your race program. Now take it to victory lane with GRC.
This is the Revved Up Sports Show with Bobby Chaffee.
We do have this nice little format that we try to follow every week. We don't usually follow it.
And Rodney Rodriguez.
Entertain me. Tell me something. I need to know something other than what I'm seeing.
Y'all ready? Right, here we go. Here's Bobby and Rodney.
Hello, friends. Another Monday as we get rolling with the Revved Up Sports Show. Showtime. Bobby Chaffee, Rodney Rodriguez, all of you being a part of our little presentation that we have for you this beautiful Monday. Temperatures cooling off, Bobby. It's starting to feel a little bit like fall, it seems like. You know, I walk out in the mornings and I'm like, all right, I can do this. I was out at the Cotton Bowl this past weekend, and I saw people actually wearing hoodies and wearing all of that.
A hoodie?
So,
already? It's not cold enough for hoodies.
Well, some of the ladies,
at a dirt track, though.
Does tend to get.
Every time there's pumpkin spice, there's hoodies at a dirt track.
The way that wind swirls around and all this stuff, it's a lot that's going on, but at least we're finally getting to the point to where it is just a tad bit cool, and I'm good with that because it's been way the hell too hot around here.
Well, when it gets to summertime, when it drops down into the lower 80s, that's when people start wearing jackets in general. So I guess the hoodie part's all right.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So your Monday night, as we have a locked and loaded program for you coming up here in just a little bit, about 6:45. It'll be Brad Dixon. We'll talk to him, and it's really cool to see. With the Lone Star 600 coming up, Bobby, I looking at this is, it started out, with the effort that all of that bunch has done. But man, you look at this and around the country, this is one where people are like, it's the coolest race of them all. I mean, the steam that this race has gotten. This is grassroots kick-ass racing, and Brad and them have been tremendous with what they have done with this. Yeah,
they really have been. This has been one of the better races on the calendar. It's one of those marquee events, and I think after 9 years, you're able to call this a marquee event in racing. I mean, they got guys coming from Kansas and all over the place, messing with your hair.
Oh, my God. I tell you, man, it's like had a cap on earlier, and it's like, oh, Lord, I tell you.
But it really becomes a marquee event now. 9 years. Every year, if it feels like it gets a little bigger every year. We'll talk to Brad about that, but it does feel, see if he feels that same way, but it does feel as though it gets bigger every year, and that's a good thing. No, I don't think that's a problem that it feels like it's getting bigger.
That's definitely a good thing. I mean, when you have an event like that, I mean, you want it to continue to progress forward. Where we see a lot of these events when they do them, I mean, they go the other way. I mean, they go backwards. And for this one to continue to do what it does, and I mean, the rules are pretty simple. I mean, what I love about this thing is, it's cut and dry. I mean, there's not a lot of different ways to manipulate things with whatever you're going to be doing right here. So I think it's a great situation. And, I remember back in the old days when we had the old Enduro 250s, I talk about it every year when we have Brad on here. I mean, that's what we used to do back then. And it was pretty cut and dry, but this is the modern day Enduro, but you do it for 2 nights and there's big money on the line. You see every different kind of race vehicle out there. I won't say race car because there's lots of different ways.
The bus.
There's lots of different ways that you can do that. And then coming up later on in the show, probably about 7:20, we'll talk to Landon Syberry, who wins back-to-back at the Dwarf Car Nationals there with the Central States Dwarf Car Association race number 3. He wins on Friday. He wins on Saturday in the sportsman division, which to me is really cool. I like the sportsman division because it was so funny for me, Bobby. So many people came up to me on Saturday when I was out there, and thanks to Dwayne Groff and Marianne and all of them for having me out. It was a pleasure to be a part of that well-run program there. But it was, it's like, so did you miss it? And I'm like, well, when the Sportsman came out, I'm like, yes, I miss it because they they're younger. They don't do what some of the other folks do. And then I see the veterans come out, and then I see the pros come out, and the pros come out, and these guys are racing, just balls to the wall doing crazy stuff. And I'm like, okay, I don't miss it anymore. I don't miss it anymore when I watch those guys doing what they did.
When the pros come by there, when they come screaming down the front stretch, do you just picture money popping out of the exhaust pipe? Because that's what I do.
I got to tell you.
When they come through, it's like, those little sumbitches are expensive as hell. Some of those guys spend as much money as some of the modified drivers do on those little mod light. They say dwarf cars, but they're all mod lights now.
Bullshit. Not bullshit what you're saying. I went and looked. I mean, because I visually know my purple coupe, which I do still have. And then I've got another also a pro chassis, but my purple car that I race there at Kyle, that I bought from Butch, I know that car, and it sucks for me because that's the one car that I really went in and learned. And I know visually still what that car looks like. Every aspect of that car. I learned every inch of that car. And I went and I looked and I was talking to Braden Becker and his dad and his mom. And they showed me their race car. And they're like, we're one of the lower funded pros. Look at our car. And I'm like, holy shit. I mean, are you kidding me? And I sit there and I look at that, how everything is transformed. And this is to where we go back to the whole thing with how racing has changed. And I talk about it so many times with short track racing, when folks are like NASCAR, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, have you seen short track racing? Dwarf cars are the best example. Those are not dwarf cars. No offense. Those are not dwarf cars. Those are exactly what you're talking about.
They're mod lights now. Everyone is mod light. The difference between a mod light and a dwarf car is a little bit of slant on the back window.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, you've got the anything that's claiming to be a dwarf car now looks somewhat like a really modified, resto-modded 40 style coupe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And
then the actual mod lights actually have the little miniature modified bodies on them. But yeah, they're all mod lights on the inside. When those things come zinging by, it's like don't get me wrong, they put on great races. DCRST puts on great races. I've called some great races there at Texana this year with the DCRST. They put on a hell of a show, but man, it's just the amount of money they spend on those little cars.
It is
astonishing.
And it's the whole thing that we talk about with, we talk about it with factory stocks. We talk about it on pavement all the time. I mean, I know these guys, the motor rules are what they are, but I mean, I know that these guys, and nobody has told me this, but come on, man. I know that these guys are getting engines built or rebuilt or whatever the case is right there. I was talking to an unnamed driver that I'm not going to mention the name right there, but he was telling me about, the motor that he has now. And I mean, I know the rules have changed and I know the suspension rules have changed and everything has changed. And that was the one thing that I was talking to the Beckers about. And I'm like, so if I'm going to come race out here at Cotton Bowl in my 37 coupe, if I'm going to come out here, I mean, I've still got the Arden Vickery, suspension, all of that stuff in there. So now, when I go hauling the mail into turn number 1, I'm still relying on that home built stuff to last. And he's like, come look at my front end. Ain't no way I'm getting around the corner the way they do.
Not even a Sportsman?
Probably not.
Because some of them Sportsmans look like they're
some of them do.
You can tell the Sportsman one. They are considerably, and I don't want to say it sound negative. Slower is the word that I'm looking for, but not as a disgraceful slower. You can still kind of see the difference in speed from a Sportsman car to one of the pro cars.
And that's because they're younger. And I'm very glad because Landon, who will be on at 720, is a great example to where he has learned the car. But I mean, his car is not one of those that you're talking about. His car is not like my coupe. I mean, they went in and they have him a great car, and he's learned the right way. But where I would fit in, because I asked, I'm like, so what is a veteran? And they're like 45 and up. I'm like, okay, that's me. But shit, they are just as fast as the pros. And it's if it was on pavement, it'd be a different story. but still to me with those cars on dirt. But again, I've
wonder
never.
what class I would run if I got one.
You'd be a sportsman because you
no racing experience in the door.
You would be a sportsman. I'd be a veteran. Maybe they throw me in the sportsman, but it's a whole thing. I would want to run with the veterans. And again, I was enticed to want to run. And as I sit here right now, yes, I want to run. But it's anyway, it was a great show. It was everything was put together well. There was a delay in the program that on Saturday night, and it was nothing to do with the dwarf cars, with any of that. And I do not have an update on that young lady that was involved with that Sport Compact incident there. Hopefully all is well there. I can tell you it was something, with the neck area and all of that, but hopefully everything is good there. We'll hopefully get some updates on that. I do want to mention two things, Bobby, before we dive into Brad and all of that fun that we'll have with him. First, there's a very good effort being put together along the Gulf Coast. I know you can do it at Mobile. You can do it at Five Flag Speedway, where folks are dropping stuff off for folks that have been, whether it be Panama City, all the different places there. There's a list actually posted on the Revved Up Sports Show page of, goods that folks are needing. So, if you're able to do something with that, drop some folks off some stuff there, because there's been a lot of folks impacted by all of that. And I do want to give a big, the old heart thing. My kids were in town and they were leaving and they were doing me the heart thing. They went to see the Harry Styles thing. Well, it's funny. They did the heart thing as they drove off. Both of them, I flipped them off. I'm like, bye, y'all. But that's the way that. That's the love that we have in our house. But they know that means I love you a lot. They know that's what that means. Rick Eshelman, we lost him over the weekend. World of Outlaws, super late model announcer, very talented guy at his craft at what you and I both do. And that's very sad right there. That's one of the greats in our business. And that's a sad loss. And we need to really think about him and folks affected. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, you never want to hear it. It's so strange when the voice of a series is no longer there.
Yeah.
To have to be the next dude that steps in, or lady in some cases, to be the next person that steps into that. Those are big shoes to fill, especially when you look at some of the stuff with the World of Outlaws. Yeah,
and that's another one of those situations there with. Just kind of some of what I've heard with that. It's one of those situations to where, you never know exactly what's going on. You never know exactly what's going on with that. But that's going to be a sad loss, and folks are going to miss him. And he did a lot for this sport, and just rest in peace to him. And I saw that World of Outlaws, they posted something on Twitter today where it says the voice will live on, and most importantly, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's the way it works. Obviously, you become the voice of a generation.
That's right,
so to speak. The memory lives on forever.
Yep.
And so that's a good thing to see the World Outlaws. And they're playing due respect to one of their own. So.
Yeah, as it should be, absolutely. So keep his family in your thoughts, and again, buddy check every now and then. All right, let's go to the Lone Star Speed Zone Hotline, powered by Computer Age Automotive. You've got the coolest race in the country, as I saw it called on Twitter by a non-Texan, a little bit earlier today, and the man that choreographs everything, the man, the puppet master, whatever you want to call it. It's one of our dudes on the line. It is Mr. Brad Dixon. Bradley, how we doing, sir?
Man, we're doing great. For once in 9 years with this Lone Star 600, I don't think weather is going to be a concern. So I'm doing extrally remarkable. Because usually before the race, during the race, at some point we have to worry about rain, but not this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So Brad, talk about it. Let's talk about your week leading in. So at this point, you've got folks entered. All of that part is done. You're going to continue to have all of that happening. So this week for Brad Dixon, what happens in preparation for this massive event?
Well, usually everything I own starts breaking down and needs batteries and tires and all these trailers that I got to get up there. So usually it's a week of doing yearly maintenance, just kind of like cleaning up the house before the guests come over.
Yep.
So it's one of those situations, but we're doing good, getting everything rocking and ready to go, and we're looking forward to an awesome awesome event with, like I say, extremely good weather. That's the one thing that I've never had doing this in the 9 years we've been doing it. So I have that stress off of me. So God is great and everything's looking good.
Love it.
So, Brad, as far as the racetrack preparation, you guys still leave that all to Devil's Bowl, right? You guys just concentrate strictly on the race. Doesn't Devil's Bowl do all the track prep for you this week?
Yes, Laney and Martin do a phenomenal job. They know that track like the back of their hand. So, usually everybody wants to give advice on what it takes to make the track good. I stay completely quiet. I've gone to tracks, man, they needed more water. They needed to grade it. They needed to sheep's foot it. They needed to do this. With Laney, he says, what time do you want to put cars on the track? And that's all me and him talk about. Other than that, they give me a phenomenal surface, and it doesn't take dust. I mean, so I'm just, whatever they need to do, they do it. And I'm blessed in that area too, because that's another stress I don't have to worry about.
Absolutely. That's a great partner that you have right there. And, of course, with Race on Texas, that will have that live this weekend. So, Brad, just touch on it for folks that may not be familiar. Talk about, the coolest thing for me about this race is the rules. It's pretty cut and dry. You run whatever you have right there. Damn near anything can run. I went and watched the dwarf car stuff. I was talking about that earlier. Man, if I could run that dwarf car this weekend, I'd probably go run. But talk about some of the specs there to what goes into this race. It's the most relaxed rules package you're going to find.
Yeah, that we created a long time ago because we were tired. Everybody complains about monster rule books and getting busted in tech. So I kind of minimized that. I mean, the hardest thing you got to do is make the weight, which is 2,800 pounds after the race. And that's the biggest thing you got to worry about after the race is over. I don't open the hood. I don't care what you have. We offered a $5,000 bonus for an all-electric car that finished in the top 25 this year, but I don't think anybody took me up on it just because giving them heck. We did offer a fuel injection bonus. I get that times are changing a little bit, so on Friday, if a car that is fuel injected, the highest one in the top 10 will get a bonus $1,000.
Nice.
And then we also contributed to the factory stocks. That's something new that we've done this year. It kind of mixes, the factory stocks. I'm going to be honest. People are going to think I'm a horse's rear for saying this. The factory stocks is one class that always baffles me. These factory stocks aren't cheap anymore, but yet they'll just destroy them on a weekly show. I don't quite get all that. But I threw a factory stock bonus in there because guys say, oh, well, I don't want to run my factory stock in that race. So what we did is we created a bonus for them. They only got to do 50 laps. Mm-hmm. They're racing kind of for a side pot as well as the $25,000 to win. So when we throw the green these factory stocks, the first factory stock that runs 50 laps, they're eligible for a side pot, and then they can continue on and try to run the whole 300 if they want. So there's a little bonus for the factory stocks that we're trying this year. Hopefully we get a lot. I know when they have these big factory stock races, there's a whole bunch of them that don't qualify every race. We had 100 and some odd factory stocks, 24 to the main. Well, that means 76 of them went home. Well, for you 76 guys that constantly go home every single weekend, hats off to Whitehead and Sean Graham and Hammett, some of these other guys that run up front. There's some mid-pack factory stocks that never make these big shows. Well, all they got to do is enter, and they're in it for the money. And little knowledge here, there's not any of those names that usually wins the 10,000 that have entered in for this factory stock bonus. So
that's right.
It's a good opportunity for factory stocks to come run 50 laps and get a little extra money.
Amen.
So, Brad, what came first on that deal? Was that just something that you guys decided to add for just to get more factory stocks in it? I mean, because it's your field of cars is amazing. We've got some of the video rolling, and you see different makes of cars. You see old modifieds. We love the bus. You see some regular street stock looking cars. Got a lot of cars with the wings, and then now you're going to have a factory stock there. I mean, was it one of those just out of convenience to just give those guys another place to race, or what was the brainchild behind adding that factory stock?
It's kind of a combo deal. Now, there's Billy Mazzille with the infield tractor tire.
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much runs the wagon he has. It's pretty much a factory stock. Got a little old crate motor. He finished 5th last year. And the factory stocks, there's a little stigma that some people think their factory stocks can't compete, when in actuality, their factory stocks can actually win.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to help prove a point, because these guys, they see a car with a wing on it. They see this, that, and the other. Well, a factory stock on a 10-inch slick, when the track goes hard, that factory stock's going to move.
Hell yeah.
I mean, these factory stocks, they're not punks anymore. I kind of, I hate to, hey, let's create a class, outlaw factory stock. But, geez, these guys are hauling the mail now. And why they don't run for 25,000 or up to 29,000 to win is beyond me, when they got a car that I watch them destroy weekly. I mean, so, they say, well, I'm not going to tear my car up. Well, I watch you do it every week, so it makes it a little, so I just wanted to throw something out there, for the factory stocks. There's already a bunch of limited guys that already run it, but factory stocks is kind of where we were a little bit light. And I always was like, man, why? So Race on Texas, came on and helped out with that factory stock bonus. And I said, well, let's try it and see how it works out. And we've gotten quite a few, so we're pleased with that. We'd like to see more, but these factory stocks, they're also the biggest procrastinators. They wait till the last minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll
absolutely.
They'll show up at the gate. You won't think you have much, and then we'll have a bunch. So.
Yeah. Well,
looking forward to that.
And I think a big part of that, Brad, is you have a lot of cars that I watch at the tracks that I go to, that they're thrust into the fact, like you were talking about, they're thrust into the factory stock because of maybe it's a Nova or whatever the deal is, and they have to run against those purpose-built factory stocks, and that's the difference, purpose-built. But one of the questions that we're already getting there, and we have the payout and so forth, but talk about the payout of how all of this works. I mean, what the nice thing about with the 600 is obviously it's a great payday. It's a great payday for the winner, but at the same time, if you perform and can survive, you're going to do well if you're in that top 10.
Right. And here's something that's, and I'll use this kind of as a baseline. If, say, you have just a mediocre running factory stock, not the top of the line, high dollar, but a nice quality built factory stock. If you think you're going to get lapped once in every 20 laps of the Enduro, that means in 100 laps, you would get lapped 5 times, 300 laps, theoretically 15 times. If you get lapped 15 times in Enduro, you're still finishing the money, because there's only a handful of cars that'll make the 300, then the attrition rate. So I try to tell these guys, if you actually do quality work on your car, now heaven, forbid a motor let go or something crazy, parts failure, but if you have a well-built car, there's no reason you shouldn't finish in the money at the Lone Star 600 if you can drive with your head on straight. The one thing that I kind of, people say, man, 300 laps is a lot of laps. But you know who says that? The same guy that finishes second or third and says, man, if I only had one more lap, I would have won. Well, I'm in a 20-lap race. I'm giving you 280 more one-lap chances to win. I was like, I just needed one more lap and I would have got him. Well, you got 300, so you're kind of out of excuses. That dog don't hunt. In the I just need one more lap and I would have won. You got 300 to give it your best shot. So it's I like it because the one thing that is different than anything, and I say this every year, is the camaraderie amongst the competitors. That the one thing is, it's we've been doing it. We've been doing it for 9 years. The only fight that we've ever had in the pits was because somebody else knocked somebody's drink and they slapped them with a sausage, and it wasn't even amongst racing. somebody got smacked in the face with sausage. I'm sure they're listening. I'm not going to air their names out, but there's none of the drama. We set the tone early. Unfortunately, one year we had some guys from Tennessee. There was about 7 of them. And I said, hey, guys, if you're going to drive rough like that, let's go ahead and go home. They cleaned it up. They've been back. We don't have all the drama, and that's the one thing that makes this race a little bit different from the other ones, because there's not this super drive for having all this machismo and my car's better than your car. No, your car's different than my car. That's right. I mean, that's the reality, and that's the one thing that I hope the 600 continues. We added the factory stocks, and I get the factory stocks look the same, but I wanted to try to help prove a point to these factory stocks. Hey, guys, y'all can compete too, and for years, y'all been leaving money on the table, running last chance qualifiers and watching features. Yeah. So, I tried to make it a little bit more advantageous for those guys.
For sure.
So, Brad, obviously you talked about adding a couple of classes here and there and the camaraderie between the drivers. We talked about it being the 9th year. What's been the biggest change that you've noticed from year 1 up to year number 9 leading up into this one?
Well, if you really want to know the truth, the biggest change is Biden. I mean, my North Dakota guys, the fuel prices got them. No, that unfortunately, not talking politics because that'll put me in a bad mood. But at any rate, the biggest change, I guess, and this is the sad part, is a lot of my guys are getting older.
Yeah.
Not to be sad or be a little doom and gloom. I care about these guys. You have a relationship for 9 years. You got to remember when I had a guy that was 60 years old, and he was, my kids are graduated from college. I'm going to do this 600, and I'm excited. I got 1 or 2 grandbabies on the way, and they're excited. Now they're 69 years old, and their health's declining, and they say, hey, Brad, I can't run the 600.
Yeah.
I wish the younger generation would actually see and experience what it's more about and quit catalog racing and get out there and actually bend some tubing and practice welding rather than ordering a pre-made bumper out of a catalog and then crying because it doesn't fit a 1/4 of an inch and they broke their drill bit trying to waller out the hole.
Yep.
That's that's, I guess, the biggest thing that I've seen change is the older, resourceful guys. They're getting, they're getting fewer and far between, and we've only got a handful of new kids that are coming up that are really, have the drive to do the 600. So, I hope with this factory stock, I know the factory stock class is filled full of younger drivers, and I hope some of those realize, wow, we can run 600 laps in a weekend, and that beats any driving school that they could ever go to.
Yeah, that's right.
Just the whole experience of watching it, thrashing, fixing it. You can't teach that in these driving schools that these kids think is the more or less holy grail to saving their racing program.
But Brad, isn't that the beauty of this race? I mean, because what this does, I mean, we talk about, dad's money, mom's money, all of this, folks with sponsors in their pockets and all of that. What this race does is it allows the regular Joe or Jane to come on out and race. You don't have to have the most money. You don't have to do all of this different stuff. I mean, you just come on out, you get laps, and if you play your cards right, hell, at the end of the day or night, you're going to be right in the middle of the mix. And that's what this race does. It affords the old school, the old, I want racing to be what it used to be. That's what this race does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm hoping that some of this younger generation will actually see that. But then there's that one side of me that has to wonder if it's not, I know this sounds bad, but the newer generation, I would say they're a little more full of themselves / entitled, however you want to call it.
Oh yeah.
And when they do get beat by that 67-year-old man, what's their excuse? When they say, "Man, I'm tired," and then the 65-year-old man hops out and says, "Man, that was fun."
Yep.
And he's grinning from ear to ear, and you got the 26-year-old over there panting, sitting next to the car, asking for water and a wet towel. I mean, it's a different time, and I'm from the old school. If anybody's been out there, y'all will see me running up and down the straightaway, hooking up cars. I come out of the flag stand. I want to be as much hands-on and as active and doing everything I can do for these racers.
Hey, Brad,
but the racers don't do it for themselves.
Brad, the youngsters are like, give me some electrolytes. Give me something. Give me a supplement. Man, I'm not in a good place.
Right. If they would pour some of that Red Bull in the tank of their race cars rather than down the throat of maybe they'd be a little bit faster. But that's the funny thing. Seeing these kids have these problems, it's actually kind of comical.
I love it.
To be honest with you, when I see these kids and they don't even know how to push start a standard transmission. They have no idea, So when that push truck, and the reason I say that is because I've had a couple, and so there's always a couple of the kids, "Hey, the push truck got behind me and pushed me, and my car was vibrating, and he wouldn't stop." "Well, what do you mean it was vibrating?" "Well, like the motor was turned over, it was in gear." I said, "Well, why don't you flip the ignition switch and take back off?" I mean, well, there's some things you can do here. Take it out of gear, I mean, heck, I can't. And, that's the one thing. The older guys, and I shouldn't use this term, but, when the push truck comes behind a stalled car and he's an older guy, man, they think all of a sudden Jesus just got behind them and started shoving them off the track.
New life. That's
these
right.
These young guys, somebody's hitting me.
Hitting me too hard.
Gee whiz. So yeah, it's kind of comical, but I love what the push truck does. I think this is the 9th year. We just worked on the push truck today. Getting all that lined out, and if you think about it, that's almost having what that truck goes through every year and having it for 9 years. It's quite the task, just keeping that thing going year after year.
Brad, what's funny about the 600 is that it's almost kind of a microcosm of the actual racing as a whole, right? Like you've got that disconnect between the younger kids and the older drivers at a local weekly short track show, right? I mean, you've got your E-mods and some of your entry-level pure stocks, but there's still that disconnect between the younger generation and this older generation for multiple reasons. A lot of them you just touched on. So granted, we're here about the 600. What's your take on just the local racing scene with that disconnect? Is there anything we can do to try to fix that now?
Quit babying these kids. I know it sounds bad, but when if I was running a weekly show, unfortunately, I would have to call roll. And if you're not at the driver's meeting, you don't race. I mean, these kids, they'll hang out in their trailer. They'll be on their phones. They're missing their heat races. And when I say kids, I'm talking people 30 and under.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and lump them in there. These smartphones and this technology came out when some of these kids or young adults were 20. Well, they still act like they're 15 and they're 28 years old. I mean, there was a situation, a little while back, I believe at Cotton Bowl, where we had a sprint car driver acting like he was 6 years old. I mean, come on, we can't have that. Like, these kids have been babied for so long that it makes it tough for them to be resilient. I mean, my era, when the power steering belt broke,
Yep.
you kept going. Your arms, you'd come back, you'd look like Popeye. The steering wheel would be bent. The aluminum would be bent some on the cross shafts on the, but you didn't give up.
Yep.
Now, the power steering goes out, and the car is parked in the front straightaway wall, and they get out, and my steering's broke. Well, it's broke now that you hit the wall.
Yeah.
The power steering was out, but the steering wasn't broke. You know, it's just a different mentality. You know, and that's the part that's a little bit frustrating. Sometimes I'm a little bit hard on my son. You know, he's 13 and he's dabbled in the sprint car, you know, this year and going to run it full time next year. But he knows what to do. You know, he's got it, and it's tough because some of the other kids around him, you know, there's a few that do have it, but then there's several of them that are just entitled. The car wrecks and they go and get on their phone. Brent wrecks, he's out there helping me take if we had a motor blow up in his limited, and it was a 2-day show. And I told him, I said, do you want to race Saturday? And he said, yes. I said, well, we're going to work all night and you can sleep on the way to the track. If you want to race, you got to pull an all-nighter, and you got to sleep on the way to the track. And he said, okay. And he did it. And, you know, I made sure, you know, he was awake. But you have to have that grit and that drive within you, or you're just going to. So as far as the local scene, I don't know what the right answer is. I just think the promoters could get a little bit tougher on the drivers with the BS. And I know it would probably get worse before it got better. But any promoter out there that's hard and steadfast, you know, I hate to say it, it's, you know, my way or the highway, you know, and I know it sounds bad, but that's kind of the way it needs to be. Racers need, if they don't like the track, they don't have to go to it, but they don't need to bring nonsense and knuckleheadness to it either.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I mean, some of the stuff that I see, I mean, across the country, it's like, you know, the racers want to dictate what happens. It's like, okay, here's what needs to happen. And I know that's hard. I know that's hard for the promoter because maybe there's money involved or whatever the case right there. And the other thing that you mentioned right there, I remember, Brad, when I was young and finally getting a race, my dad told me point blank, he said, if you ever get in an incident and you leave that damn car, you get in a wreck, I don't care what happens, you leave that car, walk off, you're done. You do not do that shit. You stay with your shit is kind of the whole thing. I see these kids doing that. Yeah, so it's a different time. It's a different time.
I'll go one step further. A person can go to the Monster Jam and they don't take their truck and run over a car at the red light the next day.
That's right.
People watch Bowman Gray and then go to the track and do that nonsense. Like, people don't realize Bowman Gray is the Monster Jam of short track racing, and half of that stuff is scripted, but people are too foolish to even realize that some of those guys get paid to junk their stuff. You know, and that's where I get Bowman Gray, what they're doing. Hey, I'm not mad at them. It works great for them. That's their formula. It's successful. They pack the stands. They make money. They keep the doors open. But they also got to realize, the racers also got to realize that type of mentality, they're not in that circus.
That's right.
You know, that it's a different deal, but they don't even realize it.
That's right.
So, you know, that's kind of what's going on there. But, you know, as far as the racing down here, you know, in Texas, South Texas, I will say, you know, I want to give a special thanks to actually all the tracks. You know, we got Marianne at Cotton Bowl. You know, I try to go there and support them, you know, throughout the year. We got South Texas Race Ranch down there with Owen Pittman, Cord Beard over at Texana, 105 Speedway up there with Joey Smith, Selby Holder at Waco, Bo Rowden at Kennedale. I'm very, very fortunate. All of them take off the Lone Star 600 weekend. So, you know, me and Trent, we don't race at one specific track because we try to go and support all the tracks, you know, and I just wanted to on the air give them a huge thanks for supporting the Lone Star 600 year in and year out to help make it possible and kind of make it after point season's over. It's kind of why I picked the first weekend in October to give everybody kind of a just, let your hair down and kind of have some fun, have fun and come race. Don't worry about qualifying. Kind of just like a kickoff party kind of the off season is kind of what I do with the 600. So I wanted to make sure those people were recognized and because they all have wonderful racetracks, so there's, every one of them has a little bit different flavor. So if you can't find something at one of those racetracks, you're probably not a racer.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
So, Brad, talk about your relationship with Race on Texas. Obviously, I mean, they're a media partner of ours. We do a lot of cool stuff with them, with the promoters of the years and racers of the years. But they're a pretty big integral part of this whole Lone Star 600. I mean, that's the best way to watch it if you can't make it in person.
Absolutely. And they have actually, I actually can say, kind of toot my horn. I think I have they were with me on day one. Now, Race on Texas has done a fantastic job, getting the racer awareness, the fan awareness, because times are tough. It's hard to get out to the track every single weekend.
Yep.
But, with their live streaming and their give back to the track program, it's actually phenomenal. It's become a win-win for everybody involved. But I can say, I think I'm not for sure, so don't hold me to the fire on this, but they've been doing our broadcast for 9 years, so I might have the longest running race with an annual broadcast and a working partnership relationship with Race on Texas. So it's that's kind of a cool deal to have, a little notch in my belt, because from where Race on Texas was 9 years ago to where Race on Texas is today is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I could put the only thing that's a bummer at Devil's Bowl is we can't fly the drone. I actually, funny story, I actually got fined, not because of Race on Texas, because another individual flew a drone too close to the airport. And since I was in charge, they came cracking down on me, and I got a hefty fine for allowing a drone to be flown at one of my events.
Man.
And the guy that flew the drone, I said, "Hey, what's going on?" "Oh, I don't know." I was like, "Well, they're after me, so I got to take care of this fine." But anyway, the Race on Texas does phenomenal work. So it'll be great weather. I encourage everybody, if you can, to come see it in person. If you can't, Race on Texas has got it covered. We have a gosh dog it, they call him the Aussie Pig out of Australia, Donegan. He's flying in all the way from Australia to race the Lone Star 600. So
awesome.
We'll actually, Race on Texas will be booming hard over there in Australia this year. So that's an awesome deal. They'll be streaming in Canada. We got our guys from Canada that usually come to the race. They're not going to make it this year just because of fuel prices, which I understand. But yeah, Race on Texas. The interesting part is the Lone Star 600 should have 300 entries from Texas alone.
Yeah.
However, a lot of the out-of-state guys realize a good race when they see it. So it gets infiltrated from out of state. And Race on Texas has definitely got all of our out-of-state guys covered so they can watch it, So that's an awesome deal, and they do a great job. So
Yeah, very good job, and a great venue there. I mean, the Devil's Bowl. I mean, that's a whole part of it. It's like it's one of the places where people want to go, so that helps. So, lastly, Brad, I mean, let's put a bow on it. I mean, talk about details where folks can get details. Give another shot to the factory stocks, man. I mean, to me, we've got that thing pulled up. I mean, that's an easy way for some of those guys that get left out to go make some money and go get some laps, most importantly. But tie it all up and tell folks where they go for details about the 600.
LoneStar600.com has all the details, everything you need, schedule. We have our Facebook page, LoneStar600.com as well as our Big Race Promotions page. They kind of mirror each other. So they can find out anything and everything they need there. if anybody's confused, they can either call myself
Confused.
or Jack Barfield. Our phone numbers are there everywhere, so they can get all the information. And then if I always tell people, if you want to see what the Lone Star 600 is about, because everybody says, some people, oh man, that's a wreck fest. Well,
not quite.
When you can have 125 cars on the track and go 82 laps nonstop, doesn't sound like a wreck fest to me, because I've seen a lot worse in a 3-lap hot lap session before the races start. So, but yeah, they can check it out. And I tell people, YouTube Lone Star 600, Devil's Bowl Speedway Lone Star 600, check it out. And then one thing that's going to be neat this year is we're going to do some live look-ins and pre-shows with Race on Texas for the fans leading up to the event. So we got our buddy Hot Carl and Infield Tractor Tire and School Bus. There's, what's kind of neat about that 600, there's a lot of good guys and kind of characters, and they kind of got their own images, going on with this deal after 9 years. But Race on Texas will be doing interviews, all that good stuff. So you can get on Race on Texas and do the live look-ins and before the race, and then, like I say, order the race and hang out and watch it. And if you can't make it out in person.
Absolutely. Good stuff right there, man. Looking forward to that. Good luck as always. And I know you guys are going to kick ass. And thanks for taking the time, dude. And, man, factory socks, I want them to show up. I know you mentioned that. And then I'm like, dude, do it. Please do it. Please do it.
that Nova that you drove?
Yeah.
Over at Texana?
That'd be a great
one. What's the availability for you to get into that thing? Because I'll pay your entry if you show up with that Nova.
Oh man, I've got something on Saturday night. I've got some Texas OU stuff, but I could probably get there for 300 laps.
Well, come on. If you can do it, I'll take care of you. That way I can tell you, like I tell everybody else, you're out of excuses. Come on, Rodney.
There it is.
Get that Nova. Nova. We got to have some leaf springs running up in the front. Corey Neal can't do it all by himself.
That's right, man. That would be so awesome, dude. That would be kick ass. Brad, good luck this weekend, dude. I'll be checking in with you, and keep doing it, dude. It's a best race in the country. I totally agree.
We greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate your show and bring awareness to everybody. So we can't thank you enough.
Absolutely, my man. Take care. Kick ass.
All right, take care.
You bet. There he is, Brad Dixon, man. I tell you, the thing about it, the race is what it is, but when you got a guy like that is the one that's pushing that thing, that right there, that's the total package.
It's a lot of fun. Watching the highlights of the race from Race on Texas and seeing the, and if you're questioning about the 601, you can see some of the Facebook comments we've got about everybody talking about having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
But you just the stories that we hear from people that have had a damn good time at the 600. You go to a race and a party breaks out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody seems to be chilling out. You'll see people giving parts away to borrow cars or to put cars back together to borrow parts. It's going to be one of those races that the camaraderie is there, probably more so than any other race. And the fact that it's guys from all over the country,
mm-hmm.
that's what makes the race so damn cool. Yeah, we're going to miss the crazy Canadians that are always coming down and racing the thing. But, you get it. Economics is economics. But, you'll see them from all over. It's going to be a hell of a show.
Well, and I love where he says that it gives the regular guy an opportunity to make some damn good money. LoneStar600.com. Hey, stick around, guys. Next, we're going to talk to a 15-year-old sensation in the dwarf cars. Landon Syberry will join us here shortly. It is #Real Race Talk on a very fun Monday night. Stick around. For CRS Suspension, are you ready to take your racing program into victory lane? Well, if you are, then it's time to call CRS Suspension, the industry leader in handling technology. CRS now solely owned by winning iStock and late model racer Jeffrey Abbey, whose knowledge can do big things for your oval track success. Give CRS Suspension and Fabrication a call today at 325-330-0647 and learn how you can get the shocks and technical guidance that will put you into the winner's circle. You either have CRS shocks under your car or you get outrun by those who do. Choose to win and call CRS Suspension today and follow them on Facebook at CRS Suspension Fabrication.
Have you heard about the latest and greatest technology being built around the DFW area? Generation Race Cars and JL Racing, located in Springtown, Texas, are now offering top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art Southern Sport mods and limited modifieds. Generation Race Cars and JL Racing can provide new cars, turnkey, complete bodies, shock revalving, and chassis updates, along with providing trackside setup guidance and a whole lot more. If you're looking at competing at a whole new level, call 817-528-2947 and ask for Justin today. You can contact them through the JL Racing Facebook page to learn more about Generation Race Cars. You put a ton of effort into your race program. Now take it to victory lane with GRC.
Hey friends, Rodney Rodriguez for your neighborhood auto repair and service shop in Cedar Park and Central Texas. It's Computer Age Automotive. Does not matter, domestic, foreign, hybrid, whatever it is, your auto repair and service. Mr. Gilbert Simmental and his great staff there at Computer Age Automotive, they will be the answer to whatever your problem may be. They've been doing it for 35 years, so that tells you something right there. Check engine light diagnostic, computer reprogramming, computer flashing, computer calibration. Doesn't matter, even the diagnostic stuff, body control systems, engine control systems, power and battery systems. They have the answer for you. ASE certified mechanics. You drive a diesel, they can take care of that for you as well. It's Computer Age Automotive, the Simmentals. Great folks. Hey, they're racing folks, so you know that they can get stuff done. Been doing it for 35 years and still going strong in good old Cedar Park, Texas. It's ComputerAgeAutomotive.com. Tell them you heard about it right here on the Revved Up Sports Show and Revved Up ATX. It is hashtag Real Race Talk, the Revved Up Sports Show on your Monday. Great conversation right there with Brad Dixon, man. He doesn't mess around, does he?
Tells it like it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we love. We love having Brad on the show.
That's right. That is when we say hashtag Real Race Talk, that is what it's all about. And to hear that, I'm super excited, man. I think that's going to be such a great show. RaceOnTexas.com. If you cannot get to Devil's Bowl Speedway, I think that, and I love, watching the video right there. I mean, you see every damn type of car right there.
All of them.
Yeah, and the rules are pretty simple. Just kind of run what you brung.
I think the only rule is the minimum wheelbase rule. I think because last time he was on, he talked about somebody had to in the parking lot cut the front clip off and extend it, and he still let him race because they made the wheelbase rule.
Yeah, that's right. So let's go back. Talking about one of the things that Brad was talking about right there is like veterans, that get out and do whatever. And again, as a veteran, I would love to run their race, but this gentleman that we're about to talk to, this kiddo right here that is on the Computer Age Automotive hotline, Lone Star Speed Zone hotline. This is the man that took care of business in the sportsman division at the Central States Dwarf Car Association Nationals, not only on Friday, but also on Saturday. 15 years old young is this man. It is Landon Cyberry. Landon, how we doing, sir?
We're doing great.
Man, so has all the excitement wore off yet, or are you still kind of on cloud nine right there after all that?
No, I'm still there. We got home and we just chilled and unloaded the trailer, and we're still setting in, but we haven't even cleaned the car yet.
Nice.
So now, Landon, we know about your background. Obviously, this is not your first time to interact with the Revved Up Sports Show. You came down with your brother there to the studio there at the Horn a while back, and so for those that don't know, this is not just your first breakout dwarf race. Obviously, you did really good there, but tell everybody about your background with the quarter midgets and stuff like that.
Well, I'm 15 years old. I started my quarter midget career when I was 8 years old. I got three championships in quarter midgets,
awesome, running
nationally and local. I started dwarf this year. We ran 20 races this year. I got 7 heat race wins, 5 A main wins, 1 fast dash win, and 2 national wins.
Man, That is awesome. So Landon, talk about that. I mean, because I drove dwarfs there for a while. I mean, talk about so why was that going to be the next progression for you guys? You and your dad, everybody, you sit down, you talk about, what are you going to do next? Why was it going to be the Dwarf Car Racing Series at Texas?
Well, we wanted something with competition and like a weekend show almost every weekend of the racing season, and there wasn't much for asphalt besides HMP that was in Texas. And so I came with my dad one day and I told him, might as well go dirt because there's like multiple dirt tracks in Texas. So that's how that started. And I figured that dirt would be much more competitive and that it would make my experience level progress.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, in terms of the dwarf stuff, how hard was it you to acclimate yourself with it? Was it just kind of a natural fit for you from a quarter midget? Because both those cars, little snug once you get in there, especially now that the dwarfs run the containment seats. But how hard did it take you to get acclimated to the newness of the dwarf car from the quarter midget?
It wasn't that bad. I felt like I had a lot more room and a lot more comfort in the dwarf than the quarter midget because you had to sit in the quarter midget at like an angle, and the dwarf has more like roomy in a way than the quarter midget. So I would say it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. So let's talk about, back to the dwarf cars, because one of the things I was talking about it earlier, Landon, is you've got all the competition in the dwarf cars. But I think to me, the coolest part for me, the pros are the pros. That's great. Whatever. But to see you guys and the sportsmen and then the veterans, the old dudes like myself, I love the sportsman division of this because it gives you guys the opportunity to race with folks that are in your category. I mean, you've got the guys that are the pros, but you guys, you get to race each other.
Yeah, we race on a daily basis or not on a daily basis, but like on a weekends, we race with the pros and we run mid pack with them. Some of us get up there in the top 3, top 5, and it's just, we get to do what we get to do, and then on a national circuit, we get to run individually, which gives us more of an opportunity.
So let's see here. When you move up to dwarfs, now you've got a chance. Are you gonna move up one more step, start running with them pros? I mean, that car you got's kind of a good solid hot rod there. I mean, not everybody can touch Dustin Rude sometimes, but I mean, you got a pretty good hot rod there. What's your outlook for moving up to the pro division?
I don't know. We've been thinking about that. I can stay in the sportsman till I'm 16, I think. But we've been looking at it on a national circuit. We'd like to stay in sportsman just to run the nationals because we didn't hit all the nationals this year as a sportsman. So,
yeah. So Landon, let's talk about this weekend. So you go out on Friday night and you take care of business on Friday evening, and then you come back on Saturday. I mean, it's one thing to win one night. I mean, but for you, to win them both. I mean, how big was that for you and the team?
It was, we worked on the car on Saturday morning and we got it back dialed in from Friday night. Friday night was basically just a normal race, kind of like a get to figure out the track for the out-of-towners. And Friday night we packed up, we went to the hotel, went to bed, and we got up Saturday morning and we came back to the track, reset up the car, took some measurements and realigned everything back up, and we went racing.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy, right? You make it sound so simple, but yet what you did was really hard. Like, you're just like nonchalant, like, oh, we scaled it back up again, and we went out and we whooped some more tail and all of that. It's got to be more complicated than that, right?
Well, my dad put a hell of a car together. He, as I said, he went through the car on Saturday. We changed tires, put some fresh rubber on for the A-main, and we went back out there and we tried to win it again, and it worked out in our favor.
Yeah, that's right. It sure as hell did. And I want to ask you about Saturday because that's the race that I saw and got to call. And I want to tell you, dude, I was so impressed and proud of you because Keith Lisher he was sitting there, and that right there, to see a 15-year-old, kiddo like yourself, the composure that you had. I mean, pardon my French, a dude was all over your ass. But, I mean, you did not make a mistake. You did everything that you had to do. Talk about the Saturday race. Like I said, didn't see Friday, but I can tell you one thing. On Saturday, you looked like about a 40-year veteran running that event.
Well, I can tell you on Saturday, quarter midgets came in really good because it was precise and I hit my marks, and I never slide up out of the bottom groove. I was protecting the bottom, and it worked out really well because Keith Fisher couldn't get around the top side because the top side was glazed off.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
well done.
So, Lennon, speaking of quarter midgets, I don't know if you got a chance to pay attention to the news about NASCAR trying to team up with quarter midgets to get a whole nother group of young racers, because that's what we need is another group of young racers to try to replace some of these old guys and these old veterans. In terms of that, how important was that announcement for quarter midget racing as a whole to have the largest racing sanctioning body in North America team up with the quarter midgets?
Well, it seems like a good thing for the smaller group of guys, like the younger kids, because it's going to be a NASCAR championship for them now. And it's going to be on their quote-unquote racing records. So I think it's going to be a good thing later on in their racing career.
Yeah, no, that's a great thing. That is a very good thing. And again, a step in the positive direction. I'm glad that folks are finally realizing how important that is. So for you guys, what's left for this season? I mean, to back up this weekend is going to be, I mean, I'm assuming this is the highlight of the year, but anything left for you guys? I think there's still some DCRST racing to be done.
There's no more DCRST racing,
you're done.
but we will be headed up to Lone Star Dorf Series of Texas, and we'll run their Waco National in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super cool. That's a cool thing.
See, another. So, what are you going to do when you win that one? I mean, are you going to go out and celebrate, have yourself a big old root beer or something? I mean, you got to be some kind of fun in the life, right? You can't just show up and win and not try to do anything fun.
Well, if I win that one, my dad said we're going to tear the car down, we're going to powder coat it, and we're going to basically put it back together as a brand new car. So,
nice. Well, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. I don't know if that's worth winning now. That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, really. I'd be like, maybe I'll run second. Maybe I'll run second in that one. So talk about your car. I mean, where'd you guys get that car from? Because I know with the whole thing, I know your dad had messaged me when you were making the move over to that. So where did that car come from? And everybody that helps you guys with this fast piece.
We got it from John Isabella in California, and we sent it up to Norm at DNR Chassis, and he did all the updates on it. And it's basically a brand new car, just the old. Well, he put updates on it, so new bars, new everything. It was basically a brand new car when we got it. It only had like 10 races on it or something.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, I can tell you the proof is in the pudding. So how's it been for you guys? I mean, because I can tell you the one thing that I learned in dwarf car racing is you got to get out there, you got to learn the car, but to evolve, to make the car your own. How has that process been for you to make that car the one that you want to drive, to which tailored to your driving style?
We've got a very neutral setup in the car with the shock package and the springs, and basically Norm has helped us with all our setups, and he's doing pretty well with the setups, and I like how the car drives. And the quarter midgets, again, they're helping me be very precise on movement. So
I bet.
So curiosity question. So you got a race car, right? You work with your dad, keeping the maintenance on it and all of that. So what do you do for fun? Do you want to play other sports? Do you have any instruments you like to play in band, or is everything set for you to be a race car driver?
Well, we race almost every weekend of the racing season. So really, it's either racing, cleaning the race trailer, going out to the property, hanging out, or just racing in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good.
I mean, that's okay. That's all right too. That's not a bad answer.
Yeah. You're focused on the task. That's a very good thing. Oh, by the way, I got to tell your dad sent me over to get a beer out of y'all's trailer, and I went into the wrong trailer, and a guy almost kicked my ass afterwards. But that's a whole different story. I'll tell your dad about that. I went into the trailer next to y'all's, but anyway, it is what it is. Seriously, I mean, Landon, how big the weekend. I mean, it's one thing to win races, but to win this national event back to back, I mean, that's got to be a huge feather in your cap.
Yeah, we were trying really hard to get our first win of the season with Keith Fisher running first in points.
Yeah,
well, he
right.
took over the championship right before Colorado because we skipped a couple of races right before Colorado, which we thought we were going to gain back the lead, but we got rain outs at the end of the year, and it kind of, if you want to say, screwed us over. So
my man knows how to talk. He said hell, and he said screwed us over. I mean,
we're just bad influences. That's all it is.
That is a racer right there. That is a true racer talking the way that we do it, man. Landon, proud of you this weekend, dude. You thrilled him. You had a lot of folks super excited. I had a lot of after I was talking about you know, being 15 and so forth, and folks are like, where's this kid? And I was trying to point him over to you, but well done, you and your family, man. Congratulations. Super proud of what you did this weekend.
Yeah, thank you. We're looking for any sponsors for 2023 season. If you would like to sponsor us, we got a Facebook page. It's LTS Racing, and there's a number and an email on there if you'd like to reach out to us.
That's good.
Well done.
That's good.
Well done. And you speak well. I got to tell you, I know last night we had a little conference call there, you, me, and your dad, and you did good, dude. You get an A+. Well done. I don't know if that helps for school, but you get an A+ on the Revved Up Sports Show.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out to us. I really enjoyed doing this, and I hope I can get my exposure out there. So
absolutely, open platform anytime, dude. That's what the show is all about, helping dudes like you guys out. So anytime, reach out when you got something going on. We can do it again.
Okay, thanks.
All right, man. Take care. There he is, Landon Cyberry. And I got to tell you, I know when I talked to him and his dad last night, I was like, okay, you know, maybe it'll be one of those things, but I think he done good. He done damn good.
You pre-gamed him, so that's good. I mean, it wasn't like coming in as like a specific shot there.
Well, the whole thing is, I mean, it's one of those things to where, you know, I told him the same thing that we tell, I mean, even the old guys that come on the show, it's like, what the hell are we going to talk about? It's like, dude, we are not going to ask you anything that you don't know. and that's,
except for the people we really know, then we throw them oddball questions, but most of the time we don't ask any questions that they won't know.
Well, we get some of the old timers where we can throw them off because we can ask them stuff that they don't remember.
Or they don't want to talk about.
And they don't want to talk about. That's exactly right.
Statute of limitations has expired on the majority of that stuff.
That's right. Just kind of going through some of the comments there on the Facebook feed there. I know we got a ton of them. I saw somebody asking about Mobile. That's going to be October 29th is the Lee Fields Memorial. That's the date for that one, and that's going to be a jam-packed deal. So you'll have that coming up. And like we talked about at the beginning of the show, along the Gulf Coast, you can, if you have, I mean, anything that you may be able to drop off, whether it be toiletries or you know, perishable food, whatever it is,
and animal stuff too. I saw that today.
Yeah,
they need
right.
animal stuff
That's
too.
right.
Dog food, cat food,
yeah, man.
Veterinary supplies.
Pensacola or Five Flags is a location. You can also do it over at Mobile. I guarantee you, if you reach out to Gina or Mobile or Tim at Five Flags, they can put you in the right place.
Cody probably help you out directly too.
Yeah, if you're more honed in on location, but I mean, anything that you can. There's lots of different ways to help folks out. I know the American Red Cross, I saw in football yesterday, you can text and $10 will help out a lot of people. But back to the 600, I mean, that's a great conversation there where folks keep bringing that up. And yes, I mean, it really is a down-home event, and you have to think there with what Brad and them have done. I mean, when we talk about racing the way it used to be, and that's one of the things, you know, I know with Talladega, and I do want to touch on that because I tweeted out yesterday, I'm like, okay, Talladega, we had no wrecks, we had no mechanical failures, there was no tire stuff, none of that, and so what are we pissed off about?
A stalled car on pit road with 3 to go.
Well, I guarantee you one thing, and I know this. I know that, yes, it seems stupid, but had you not, it's like we're talking about Tua Tagovailoa after his concussion and after all this, the OU quarterback ain't playing this weekend. I guarantee you after that.
Oh, he done. That was a dirty hit, wasn't it?
It was very dirty.
Rough.
It was very dirty. But had Cody Ware not hit the fence and turn for it, TMS, come down pit road and hit pit wall, probably no caution.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Because
But
he's still on pit road, not past that white line.
that's exactly right. But when you have this and you think that there could be a big one and everybody's pissed off at NASCAR, that's why you throw that. Had it happened 2 weeks ago, they probably wouldn't have.
Yeah, that kept the big one from happening. That calmed down a lot of people. But that race was fairly tame anyways, for the most part. The guys were minding their P and Qs. You didn't see the really hardcore blocks like you've been seeing a lot of the time. So it was a very tame race by Talladega standards.
And we'll have to talk about this at some point somewhere because I really do think I text you this, it's like after all of what we saw last week with the discussion about NASCAR and people pissed and everything, you have to think, because NASCAR still is the governing body, you have to think that maybe in that drivers meeting, which we're not privy to, I mean, nobody can be in there, maybe they said, hey guys, we might need to tame this thing down just a little bit. Let's be a little smarter in this thing.
Well, I mean, except for Good Morning America and ABC.
What in the hell was that?
That was journalism at its finest at a community college level.
See, that's why I'm so proud that you and I in the Austin area have been able to teach people the differences with what these race cars and trucks are. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
That's
Wrong
bad.
driver. That wasn't even Anderson. The pictures were wrong.
Like, if you couldn't get it worse, they were talking about how the NASCAR cars are, to paraphrase the whole thing, they were talking about how bad the NASCAR cars are, the next gen car in the Cup Series, talking about all the safety issues and all of that. Then they show the picture of Jordan Anderson's truck on fire, referring to it as the Cup car. And then they show the picture of Myatt Snyder instead of the actual picture of Jordan Anderson, which, by the way, the last that we heard or saw, second-degree burns on his hands, his neck, his face, and probably, I'm going to guess his arms, too, probably.
Yeah. And that was scary.
He got lucky on that deal. He was exiting said vehicle in a manner in which it was not stopped.
Yeah. Absolutely. How about a big revved up applause there for our man Howard Willis as he wins at 105? I'll tell you, the ageless wonder right there.
Well, Howard's he's a legend. That's for sure.
I got to tell you, one of the coolest things, I know I posted yesterday that interview that you did with when I actually had a fire suit on. I said as a driver, but compared to those two guys, really not. But sitting there having lunch with Howard Willis.
That was fun. Telling those old stories.
Yeah.
And he tells stories here when he comes on and talks to us. That's the thing. A lot of these guys are it's so weird, and I'm not trying to toot our own horn by no means, but a lot of these guys, when we talk to some of the legend stuff, and you talk to them even longer than I do, like the day before and all that, to get them fired up to come on, a lot of these guys just are not used to they don't think that anybody cares. They don't think anybody wants to hear their old stories.
And
there's a hell of a lot of people who want to hear these old stories.
And that's the funny thing, where I think that we do need to be better, because it's like, for guys like them and legend, I mean, all of them. And Freddie Fryer, when he came on, he didn't think that anyone wanted to hear his stories, because nobody from around the country had ever reached out and wanted to have him on for an hour and tell stories. Same thing with Slick. I mean, John Kelly. I mean, all these
Even
guys.
Terry Labonte was a little apprehensive at first, but when we started talking about the old school days at the T-Rock races at TWS, that's when the light bulb went off, and then he was on after that.
Boom. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, that's what the show has always been, and we really do want to make a great effort as we, wind this season down and start getting into the quote-unquote off-season after Snowball, to where we jump in and want to talk to more of those folks. And it doesn't have to be, the whole thing is, I mean, send us ideas. I mean, message either one of us. It doesn't have to be a Slick Yeomans this show is all about talking about the local heroes, because you never know where folks may want to hear from a insert name that had a great following. A
Bean Bandit.
Yeah, or even not.
Leroy Farmer.
Yeah, and maybe not so much on that in a late model. Maybe popular street stock drivers and all of that. I really think that's what we need to be doing in Texas for us. And on the dirt side, I mean, it's been a great year talking to dirt people. I think that dirt racers, dirt personalities. I mean, Brad Dixon, for crying out loud, almost broke the internet here, being on here a while ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do want to touch back on that. Let's go back to that event again. I'm curious to see how many he's going to get. How many he's going to get with the factory stocks. Probably not many.
I'm going to guess maybe a dozen, if that many.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I love the concept that he was talking about right there, because when he's talking about with those big old factory stock shows, it's a very few that get to be in that race. And, go make some money. Go make money.
It's that simple.
That's
if I had a factory stock and didn't have pre-commitments like you, I would definitely be trying to. But see, if you were smart, you take that street stock of the Nova and say it's a factory stock, so you can run for some of the factory stock money.
Well, that car has run as a factory stock in the past.
Hell,
it won at Cotton Bowl. It won a Cotton Bowl in the factory stock before they quite looked like Hammett's car right there.
Yeah. I think he's going.
Oh, I'm sure he will. I mean, that's a racer. He's going to get out there and get after it. I know we got a lot of our good friends that are going to be out with their vehicles. I just love the variance in the different race cars and vehicles that you see out there, and it truly is kind of run what you brung. I mean, get out there and go have a good time, and if you can survive and be smart, go out there and make some money, and it's a great event. Event.
Lots of ways to make money. Brad and Jack put on a really good show, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
No cautions and no cautions. It's either red or green, right? I think that we forgot to ask him, but I think that's what the push truck's for.
No yellow.
No yellows. It's either red or green, and most of the time it's green, all gas, no brakes.
There it is. Just like it's going to happen this week with the Texas Longhorns and OU.
Man, TCU whooped OU's ass, didn't they? Woo!
Kind of sad over there in OU land. You want to bet they wake up this week?
I bet they wake up, but it's going to be hard. But you know what, though? They got the best backup quarterback name in the whole world. General Booty, baby.
Oh, man. Sounds like a stripper.
Yeah.
Sounds like a stripper. You could probably find her on the center stage somewhere in the state of Texas, but he will be on the field taking on Texas. A big thanks to Brad Dixon. A big thanks to Landon Syberry. Bobby, what's the rest of the week look like for you, my man?
A little catch up. I got the day off on Friday and then got some football games on Saturday. In between there, just watching some Lone Star 600 on Race on Texas and anything else I can watch there. So
there it is. Archives, RevvedUpSportsShow.com. You guys have a great week. We'll see you next Monday right here on Russ.